I met Katie at a volleyball tournament between colleges. We were both seniors but at different schools. I was a highly sought-after player. As an outside hitter, I executed powerful attacks and usually blocked my opponent's hits. I had a strong vertical and was taller than average. Katie was there cheering for her college's team, which was clearly outmatched. After the game, there was a dance party for all the participants right there in the gym. On a whim, I asked Katie to dance. Despite having many admirers, she said yes. Turns out, I'm not only great at volleyball but also a pretty good dancer, much to the chagrin of her classmates. We danced together all night. Afterwards, I walked Katie back to her off-campus apartment and we started dating. By our final year, we were living together. I found a part-time job doing freelance web development which paid well. I spent all my money on Katie. She was busy too. One day, I came home to find Katie's parents there. We talked things over and they left the same day, clearly disapproving of their daughter's choice in me, but they couldn't change her mind. After graduation, we moved to Katie's hometown. Her parents welcomed us but gifted Katie a small house, secretly hoping we'd break up since I was parentless and unlikely to receive such gifts myself. I wasn't completely alone, though. I had an older sister, Sarah, back home, but we rarely saw each other. She had a family, and after our mom passed, I had given my inheritance to Sarah, saying, "I'm a guy. I'll be able to earn more." She'd warned me, "Oh, Jack, your wife's family will take advantage of you. You'd better move in with us. We have plenty of room in our house, and the one next door where I live with my husband, Mike." In the new city, I found an IT job and did freelance web and software development. Katie worked as an accountant at her dad's company. Her mom often visited her at work, so she saw her parents daily. 6 months later, I came home from work to find Katie all dressed up. "Are we going somewhere?" I asked. "We're not. I'm going alone to a friend's birthday party. You don't know him." Seeing her revealing dress, I questioned, "You're wearing that?" "Maybe we'll go to a club after with the girls. You're tired from work. Just rest." "Don't you think that outfit is a bit much?" "No, and it's none of your business how I dress." A taxi pulled up and she left, grabbing a bottle of whiskey. I poured myself a drink, trying to understand what was happening. Later, I went to bed unable to figure it out. Around 2 a.m., Katie stumbled in drunk, kicked off her heels, and passed out. The next morning, I made coffee and asked what happened. "Nothing. I was bored, so I visited my old friend Paul. He works at my dad's company. We hung out, then went to a club with some girlfriends. What's with the interrogation?" I stayed silent, but I knew what I had to do. At work, I accessed my father-in-law Andrew's computer and overheard him and Katie's mom discussing the situation. They weren't happy she went to the club instead of staying at Paul's, hoping she'd leave me, that deadbeat and pauper, soon. The love and intimacy between Katie and I had vanished. She kept going to parties, leaving me in the dark. One weekend, convinced I'd done all I could, I left, only returning Monday. Katie was furious. "Where were you? I went to your work, but you weren't there." "I had things to do." "Well, did you?" "Yes." I handed her the bank cards, car keys, house keys. "These are yours. I've filed for divorce and quit my job." Shocked, she pleaded for an explanation, claiming there was no other guy. I walked out as she yelled, "Jack, wait!" Meanwhile, Andrew and Paul were going over some suspicious paperwork. Katie burst in, demanding answers. Turns out Paul's degree was fake, but they denied any scheme against me. Katie cut ties with her parents for pushing that fraud on her. "You convinced me he only married me for money, but he left with nothing. Check the papers Paul brought." I took a bus to the train station, bringing only my old laptop. After a 4-hour ride, I reached my hometown, barely recognizing it. I found my sister's house, where she lived with her husband in our 2-family homes. Mike opened the door, joking, "Finally, someone to drink with." Sarah appeared, surprised I was alone. "It's complicated," I said. She quickly set the table as I explained how Katie changed, partying with her girlfriends at clubs. Her parents tried to set her up with a coworker to get rid of me. "Did you talk to her?" "I tried. It was like talking to a wall." We ate, then sat around catching up. Sarah asked my plans. "Just keep living. Rest today, job hunt tomorrow." She offered our parents' empty house to stay in. We reminisced about old times and talked about work prospects. I experienced issues at work with discrepancies during payment processes. Although I clearly indicated the amounts, a portion would sometimes disappear during the transactions. I approached the bank, and after their investigation, they assured me everything was correct on their end. suggesting I look for errors within my company. As an information security expert, I proposed to my sister Sarah, let's go to your work tomorrow and I'll take a look. These issues weren't isolated to our companies. Meanwhile, Katie spent a lonely Friday evening in her house. Despite having money, she found nothing worthwhile to spend it on, and clubbing with friends had lost its appeal. Those same friends told her about my supposed affairs at work, explaining my late nights. But what was there to do in a nightclub anyway, besides getting drunk with teenagers? It was hard for her after I left, and she couldn't even call me because I had left my phone, a gift I had given her on my birthday. Katie contemplated how to change everything, realizing she couldn't trust her parents, and their actions had been deliberate. She knew I had a sister, but had only met her once at our wedding and had never visited my hometown. I could have also gone to the region where I had been offered an excellent job after university, but chose to stay with my wife. The next morning, Sarah and I visited her workplace. With permission from her director, Arthur, I connected to the company's network. After an hour, I reported to Arthur that someone was stealing money, likely through the internet and the bank's network. Sarah mentioned similar incidents at other enterprises using the same bank. "What do you propose?" Arthur asked. I suggested going to the bank to investigate, but their robust security system meant the culprit could cover their tracks. I proposed getting a job there, posing as Sarah's brother, with Arthur's recommendation. The next day, I met with the bank manager, recommended by Arthur. The security check took only one working day, although I was warned the procedure would continue. I had no issue with further verification. After another day at work, I caught those responsible using a cleverly hidden software module while enjoying coffee and cookies. I entered Arthur's office and explained, "It's complicated. I found a module that allows robbing both you and the bank while obscuring the tracks. I have a program running to determine which computer the attacks are coming from." Arthur inquired about modules and source code, and I explained that someone with access to the program's source code added a robbery function. We needed to talk to the developer. Arthur suggested meeting with the bank manager the next day to discuss everything, as I didn't have access to delete the module myself. By the next afternoon, I knew who was stealing the money. In an evening meeting, I explained to the executives that I needed to travel to the region to meet with the head of the company that developed the software, as the closed source code was their intellectual property. Meanwhile, the bank manager needed to involve the police to handle the system administrator and chief information security officer. I spent 2 days in the regional center. Meanwhile, Andrew sat in his office with his wife, Claudia, pondering how to find their son-in-law. Time had passed since Katie cut ties with her parents. Andrew knew Katie had forced her friends to confess that her parents instigated rumors about my infidelity. Andrew received a call notifying him about my job application at the bank. Claudia suggested telling Katie, but Andrew decided to talk to me himself, admitting their blame. The stolen money had been returned to their account, as the thieves couldn't find a way to get it out of the bank. They had planned to steal the entire client database after being fired, blaming unknown hackers. One evening, as I had dinner at Sarah's, she noticed a car parked by our parents' house with a man walking around the yard. I went to investigate and found my father-in-law, Andrew. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I need to talk to you," he replied. We entered the house and Sarah returned home. Andrew mistook her for my new romantic interest, but I clarified she was my married sister. He wanted to talk about Katie. "What about her? We'll be divorced soon. I don't need a capricious, vulgar wife who doesn't care about my opinion and thinks she can manipulate me because her parents have money. You set her on this path, anticipating our divorce. I did what you wanted. What are you waiting for now?" I asked. Andrew explained Katie's distress over my disappearance, but I countered that we weren't divorced yet, and I had talked to her after every escapade, receiving no response. I had moved back to my parents' home. Katie had lost the right to be upset from the moment she started partying, likely with infidelities, encouraged by her company and the fraudster Paul, whom she ran to on his birthday. Andrew revealed that Katie quit her job the day I left and had been sitting at home, forbidding her parents from contacting her until they found me. She dropped her friends, and he fired Paul for having a fake diploma. He asked me to come back to Katie. If she loved me, she wouldn't have been gallivanting around nightclubs, ignoring her husband, I said. I offered Andrew a room for the night. In the morning, he had breakfast with me and left. He called Claudia, planning to visit Katie and tell her about me, hoping she'd receive them. That evening, Katie was having dinner when her parents arrived. Through the intercom, they told her they knew where I was, having met with me. Katie let them in, and Andrew described our meeting and my job at the bank. Katie, in tears, worried about the pretty, unmarried girls working at the bank. Andrew assured her I lived alone next to my sister's house. She asked why I hadn't called. "You deeply hurt him, and we helped with that. That's why he's not calling," Andrew said. Katie realized her parents had convinced her she was doing everything right when she was actually unhappy without me. She took all the information they had and decided to go to her husband. In the morning, Katie left, unable to sleep with my coordinates, the house where I lived and the bank where I worked. I had become the head of the IT department, achieving success on my own. At the end of the workday, I left the bank, cheerfully chatting with the female operators, pleased with their company. Unexpectedly, I saw a familiar car with Katie standing beside it. She approached me uncertainly and greeted me. "Hello, Jack. Is something wrong? Can we talk?" I thought we had discussed everything with nothing left to say. "Please, let's just talk. If after this you want to leave, then go. I will go home and expedite our divorce, and I won't resist in court." The girls I was with paused but realized I would not go with them today. "Okay, let's talk, but not on the street. Let's go to a cafe I know nearby. We can talk there and have dinner too. And the car, where should I park it?" "Just leave it here. It's not going anywhere. Just lock it." Soon, we were sitting in a small cafe waiting for our order. I explained, "I don't want to cook at home. I don't have the time." Then I voiced the question, "What do you want, Katie? Why did you come here?" "I want you to come back." "For what?" "To watch how my wife runs around nightclubs dressed like an easily accessible woman, presumably looking for a new suitor." "It was just for fun." "And now? Is it fun, Jack?" "Yes, I overdid it, but I didn't do it for no reason. What did I do to make you hate me so much? My friends and acquaintances, all of them insisted that you married me purely for money, so why then did I sign a prenup? It states that in case of divorce, I leave with what I came with. The agreement was drawn up at the insistence of your father, and it does not specify the reason for the divorce. What was I supposed to expect with your behavior? I know it was stupid, but at that time, I thought Dad was right. Besides, everyone assured me that you were cheating on me, that you had a bunch of mistresses, that you were slowly draining our family's money. And you couldn't talk to me, could you? Through your girls, you could have found out everything before jumping to conclusions. You're an accountant and controlled our family finances. Was there some discrepancy in the balance?" "I didn't think about it." "Jack, let's try again. I really am guilty and ready to do everything to be together again." "But why are you so sure that I want this? I'm living now, maybe not as sweet as before, but considering that your dad and mom and no one else are meddling in my life, trying to deceive me, I'm doing quite well. I have no debts. I returned absolutely everything you gave me, everything that appeared during our time together. I'm now wearing a suit that my sister gave me because it became too small for her husband, but as you can see, it's quite wearable." At that time, our order arrived. We began to dine. I also ordered some dishes to go. After considering everything, Katie said, "Sorry, Jack. I understand that you had no options, but you didn't even want to talk to me. You didn't want to talk, and I tried, but you just ignored it. And yes, I never apologized for my actions to you. I hope you didn't think I would thank you for such treatment. Jack, please don't be angry. I really am having a hard time without you." "It's hard for you. I don't know, but I'm not sure that you didn't meet someone at nightclubs from the first day you started going there. And yes, Paul was nearby." "No, there was no cheating. I never had anyone else after our meeting to this day, except you. And I'm serious about that. The very day you left, I couldn't believe it had happened. Then I confronted my friends, and they confessed that all the stories about you were told at the behest of my parents. They even gathered compromising material on you. But I broke up with my parents the day you left. And that same day, I quit my job. So now I'm unemployed. Tell me, am I very guilty? Did your friends gather a lot of compromising material on me?" "No, there was nothing. When I found out that you had done nothing wrong, I looked at the whole situation differently and realized what I had done to our marriage. I cried for several days and tried to call you, but you had left your phone, which was a gift from you, and I didn't take it. When I talked to my father, I told him that you had filed for divorce, and through his connections, he withdrew it. I don't know how they found you. I thought it over and suggested, we won't resolve anything today. The hotel in our town is being renovated, and it's risky to drive at night. I can offer you a room in the house where I live, and tomorrow we'll agree, but I work during the day. We left the cafe, got into the car, and drove to the house where I lived. At home, I showed Katie her room. I said, "Well, I'm not here tomorrow. Have breakfast. You look pale. Why don't you get some sleep? Sleep as long as you can tomorrow. I'll leave early, have breakfast. I also brought lunch from the cafe. I'll come back in the evening and we'll talk." In the morning, I went to work. Katie heard me leave but decided not to disturb me. After I left, she looked around the house and started tidying up. After arresting 2 bank employees and 1 software employee, I gained notoriety in the town. People began coming to me for consultations, sometimes booking a week in advance. The bank manager was not opposed, only asking that they not tempt me with high salaries. Today, I was supposed to have a consultation during lunch. Unexpectedly, Sarah called me and asked, "Jack, what is this car doing in your yard?" "It's my wife. She came to negotiate." "What does she want?" "She came to make up, but before that, her father was here. You know, sis, I don't understand this family. When I lived with Katie, they didn't like me at all. They basically thought I married for money." "And what have you decided?" "Nothing yet. A lot of work." "And what else? There's a house for sale on the other side from you. You know, they're selling it to be demolished, and the price is really low." "And why do you need it?" "There's gas and water connected to the lot. And I need to decide whether to move forward anyway. I know there are beautiful girls working at the bank, but you have a house. Jack, I gave you that house. Your kids will grow up and they will need their own families. Where will they go?" "That won't be soon. I'm planning to move tomorrow. And when I build a house, don't skimp, the bank will help you. My director says he won't let you go for anything." "Okay, are you coming over tonight? It's Friday." "Who with?" "Your wife. As long as you're not divorced, she's still your wife." In the evening, I came home and was surprised. Katie had tidied up and prepared dinner. Looking at this, I said, "Thanks for cleaning up, but you shouldn't have bothered with dinner. My sister invited us over, so I'll change now, and you put on your boots and coat and let's go." "Boots and coat? Why?" "It's raining outside, and we have to walk through the garden to my sister's house. You won't make it in shoes or sneakers." Soon, we entered the house where Sarah lived. She said, "Here are some slippers. Come into the kitchen, to the table. Mike has poured the vodka. The kids have already had dinner and are watching their series in the living room." Mike served everyone vodka. We drank, talked about nothing in particular, and after an hour, Katie and I headed home. At home, Katie said, "Jack, let's talk about us. Let's go to the kitchen, sit down, and discuss everything." "I don't know, Katie. Although we're still married, absolutely nothing connects us. Let's just part ways peacefully. There are interesting girls around me who might like me, and you know, it would be very unpleasant for me to say that I'm still married while they're here with you." "No, I'm not seeing anyone. You're lying to me. I know you don't have anyone. Since you left, I fully understand that I destroyed everything between us. I ask for your forgiveness for this. If you come to the conclusion that we are no longer a family, I myself will file the divorce papers in court so that you are completely free and free to meet anyone. Only today I came to you to stay with you. I agree to live in your town. I'll find a job." "So you'll leave your dad and mom and move here?" "I will live where my husband lives. Money doesn't decide everything, and I won't sleep in the guest room. You have a nice bedroom." And at night, some mouse was running around the corner. I didn't sleep half the night thinking it might attack me. Did it attack? No, the mice here are tame. They know me, but they're not familiar with you, and there's no soul here. I've gathered the money, bought a boiler, just need to install it, and the shower cabin will be delivered tomorrow. You have a gas boiler? I use that for heating. The boiler is just for the shower, but we need gas workers. They'll come on Monday. And that's expensive? Not really. Our gas service owes me. I made a program for their work. Their central office is near our bank. And by the way, they need a specialist with your skills. But I didn't bring my workbook. It's at home. Call your parents, or go yourself. You might need to air out some things. While you think it over, I won't call you. I'll go myself the next day. Katie woke up early, started the car, and drove home. She arrived home in the evening, entered the house, and called her parents. Claudia and Andrew came to her in the morning. After a long conversation, her parents tried to convince her to stay home, arguing that she had a well-established life here, a beautiful house, and regarding me, she could divorce me if I didn't want to return. Katie initially argued with them but then unexpectedly agreed with their arguments. A week passed. I worked as before, came home in the evenings, didn't call as I had promised. Then another week flew by, and I had already stopped waiting. But one day, returning home, I saw that someone was in the house. I thought it was Sarah who had come over. She knew where I kept the key. I entered the house, the kitchen light was on. I went into the kitchen and saw Katie setting the table. Seeing me, she said, "Wash your hands and sit down. We'll have dinner." "And how long have you been here?" "Right after lunch. I stayed overnight in the regional center and left in the morning." "And where's the car?" "I returned everything to my parents, the house, the car, and all their gifts. They didn't give me anything. When I arrived, they didn't take my decision to leave you seriously and started pressuring me. I realized there would be obstacles, so I quietly packed my things, yours too, those we bought with our money, brought what I could, and sent the rest by a freight carrier. They should arrive tomorrow." "And what about your parents?" "They don't know anything. I pretended to agree with them, but asked them not to bother me and not to come to me. I arranged a deed of gift for the house. In general, I returned it, put it in the garage, and also transferred it to my father. Now we'll earn our own money. The phone you left, I brought it. I bought it with my own money and gave it to you, and our wedding rings. I brought them too. We bought them ourselves." 2 days later, Katie's father called and asked, "Katie, where are you?" "I'm applying for a job." "Where?" "Jack found me an enterprise near his." "And what does Jack have to do with it?" "He doesn't. I came to him." "Yes, everything you gave me. The house, the car. I returned to you. The documents are in the bedroom, in the nightstand, the keys to the house. You have them." "And what are we supposed to do with this?" "Do whatever you want with it. Now it's yours. We're not inviting you as guests. We'll live together for now in the parental home. But Jack is demolishing the house. The bank gave him a loan on favorable terms." A year after we started living together, Katie gave birth to a son. She didn't tell her parents about her pregnancy or how she was living. A year and a half later, we moved into our own house. When Katie's parents first decided to visit their daughter as guests, they were amazed.